My dear child, I told you your day would come, and now you're finally here. This isn't just a random thought, a feeling, or some stroke of luck. This is the moment I spoke over your life a long time ago. A moment you doubted, and almost stopped believing would ever happen. But here you are. I'm speaking to you now because the timing is perfect, and what I promised has finally arrived. You aren't hearing these words by accident. You're here because everything you've carried, everything you've endured, and everything you've survived has led you straight to this point. I'm stepping in now because this is the exact moment you needed to stop before moving forward, unaware of what I'm about to release. Don't rush past this. Don't treat these words like just another voice in the background. I'm speaking with absolute precision, not too early, not too late, but perfectly on time. Heaven doesn't rush, and heaven never misses. Every second before now was preparation. Every delay was shaping you, and every closed door was a redirection. If you had heard this sooner, you wouldn't have been ready to understand it. If it came later, you would have already walked past what I was preparing to give you. This moment, music, is the balance between who you were and who you are becoming, and that's why I'm speaking now. I need you to understand this deeply. This message was prepared long before you arrived here, before you searched, before you waited, and before you felt forgotten. I wrote this moment into your journey back when you were praying prayers you thought no one heard. I marked this day while you were crying in silence, pushing through disappointment, and trying to believe when everything around you said to give up. None of this is random. Every step, every pause, and every bit of pain was aligned to bring you here right now. Take this in today without hesitation. Don't push it off like you've done before. Don't tell yourself you'll come back to it later. Later isn't promised, and later isn't the same as being obedient. I'm not asking you to understand every little detail. I'm asking you to trust the season you're standing in. Some moments carry real weight, and this is one of them. What's unfolding right now can't wait for you to feel perfectly comfortable or certain. It responds to your willingness. This message isn't for everyone, it's not for the crowd. It's for the one who stayed, the one who is still listening, the one who felt like walking away but chose to remain. Others will scroll past this and feel nothing. Others will hear these words and keep moving. But you're still here because something in your spirit recognizes my voice. I am speaking to you personally, intentionally, and directly. This isn't a general message. This is a private moment between you and me. I know how long you've been waiting. I know those nights you wondered if anything would ever change. I know the days you felt stuck while watching everyone else move forward. I know the disappointment that settled in your heart when the answers didn't come, when doors stayed locked, and when the silence felt heavier than any noise. I saw the prayers you stopped saying out loud because you were tired of hoping. I heard the ones you whispered when nobody else was around. I haven't forgotten a single one. Nothing was wasted. Not your tears, not your patience, not your endurance, and not those seasons you thought were meaningless. Every delay had a purpose. Every closed door was there to protect you. Every painful pause was shaping you for something you couldn't see yet. I didn't forget you, and I didn't overlook you. I was arranging everything so that when this moment finally arrived, it wouldn't destroy you, it would deliver you. Hear me clearly. This moment is time, sensitive. Hesitation has consequences, not because I'm harsh, but because opportunity moves. What's unfolding requires your attention, music, your presence, and your response. If you turn away now, if you scroll past this, or if you silence this moment like you have others, you might miss what is opening up right now. Some things don't announce themselves with a shout. Some doors open quietly and close without warning. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it to wake you up. Look back and see how everything aligned. The delays that felt cruel, the pain that felt unnecessary, the endings that broke you, and the detours that confused you. None of it was random. I was weaving something bigger than you could understand at the time. I was protecting you from paths that would have drained you. I was moving people out of your life who couldn't go where you're headed. I was strengthening you in ways comfort never could. Every piece was placed so that when this moment arrived, you could stand firm. Come to Jesus. I am nothing without you if He is your only foundation. If you're hearing this, it's because you survived what should have taken you out. There were times you weren't supposed to make it through. Times when you were right on the edge of giving up. Seasons that pressed you harder than you thought you could handle. Yet you're still here. That isn't luck. That is grace. That is purpose. That is my hand holding you up when you didn't even know how to pray anymore. Stay with me. Don't leave. Don't rush, and don't let distractions steal what I'm giving you right now. Stay present. Listen with your heart, not just your ears. I'm drawing you closer because what comes next needs clarity, not confusion. You're about to get confirmation for things you've been questioning for a long time. You're about to feel peace where there has been tension. You're about to understand why the waiting was necessary. I'm not done speaking to you yet. This is just the beginning of what I want to show you. But you have to stay. You have to be open to receiving. You have to let this moment do what it was meant to do. Don't scroll away, don't delay, and don't tell yourself this isn't for you. You're here because this is your appointed time, and I am speaking to you now. There were times when you stopped believing this day would ever come. I saw it happen slowly, not all at once, but little by little. Hope didn't disappear overnight. It faded quietly as time passed and nothing changed. But you kept going. You kept moving forward. You kept smiling when you had to. But deep down, you wondered if the things you once cried to me about had been forgotten. You told yourself you were just being realistic, that you were just learning to accept life as it was. But I knew the truth. It wasn't acceptance, it was weariness. It was the exhaustion that comes from waiting too long without answers, from praying and hearing only silence, and from believing while seeing nothing change. I remember the days when your faith was louder, when you spoke to me with expectation instead of just caution. You once believed that change was right around the corner. You felt certain that something good was about to happen. But as the days turned into months, and months into years, that certainty faded. You watched others get what you were still asking for. You saw their doors open while yours stayed shut. You started telling yourself that maybe this was just how your life was going to be. Maybe this was all there was. I heard those thoughts, even when you didn't say them out loud. There were moments you told yourself, nothing is ever going to change. Moments where you lowered your dreams, just so they wouldn't hurt as much. Moments when you stopped asking me boldly and started praying carefully, like you didn't want to be disappointed again. I saw you lower your expectations not because you lacked faith, but because your heart was just plain tired of hoping. You didn't stop believing in me, but you stopped believing for yourself. I want you to know, I never judged you for that. I never turned away from you in those moments. I stayed close, even when you felt far from hope. The day felt delayed only because you couldn't see what I was doing behind the scenes. You measured time by clocks and calendars. I measured it by growth, readiness, and protection. You thought nothing was happening because nothing changed on the surface. But beneath what you could see, I was working carefully, patiently, and intentionally. I was holding back things that would have crushed you if they'd arrived too soon. I was closing paths that looked good but would have led you away from who you were meant to be. I was preparing you in ways comfort never could. You thought the delay meant denial. It didn't. You thought the silence meant I wasn't there. It didn't. You thought the waiting meant I had moved on to someone else. I hadn't. I was shaping you quietly, strengthening you slowly, and teaching you endurance without letting you break. Some lessons can't be rushed. Some blessings can't be received by an unprepared heart. I delayed not to punish you, but to protect you. I delayed not to withhold my love, but to deepen it. There were times you questioned me, wondered if you'd missed your moment, or feared the window had closed. I heard every single question. I felt every ache. I saw how disappointment settled into your spirit like a heavy weight you learned to carry. You kept moving forward, but joy felt distant, hope felt risky, believing felt exhausting. Still, you didn't walk away completely. Even in your doubt, you stayed connected. Even in your exhaustion, you didn't stop reaching for me, even if your hands were trembling. Please, support our channel. Our work is to bring happiness and devotion to God into your life. If you wish, you can kindly show your support by donating through Super Thanks. This is the very day you used to cry for. This is the moment you asked me for back when you were all alone, wondering if anyone was even listening. This answer started taking shape long before you were ready to handle it. I never forgot those tear-filled prayers. I never overlooked the nights you went to bed feeling let down. I didn't ignore those times you felt looked over, held back, or left behind. I remembered all of it. I carried every bit of it. And now, I'm telling you clearly so your heart can finally take it in. This day is real, and it's finally here. You couldn't see it coming because, after a while, you'd just stopped expecting it. You let your guard down because hope had burned you before. But I never forgot how to surprise you. I never forgot how to make good on my promises. I let the waiting stretch you, not to break you. I let the silence deepen your soul, not to leave you on your own. I let time pass so that when this day finally arrived, you wouldn't recognize it by all the noise, but by the peace it brings. What felt like a delay was actually everything falling into place. Is greater than, is greater than, music, is greater than, is greater than. What felt like a loss was just some necessary pruning. What felt like stillness was really me preparing you. You were growing into someone stronger than you even realize. Someone who can handle what you once wanted without it taking over your life. If this had happened sooner, it would have been too much for you to handle. If it had happened any later, you would have completely given up on believing. That's exactly why it's happening now. That's why, music, I'm talking to you now. Let your heart remember the version of you that used to beg me for this. Don't let that memory bring you pain. Let it bring you understanding. You're not the same person you were back then. You've grown. You've made it through. You've learned to trust me even when the answers seem to drag on. And because of that, you're standing in the middle of the very day you thought would never show up. Don't rush past this moment. Let it sink in. Let it heal the disappointment you've been carrying. Let it bring back the hope you had to bury just to keep going. This isn't a coincidence. This is fulfillment. This is the day you cried for, and I brought you here not to tease you, but to remind you that my timing is perfect, even when it feels like a lifetime. I am right here with you, and whatever comes next will make the waiting finally make sense. While you were wondering why life felt so quiet, so slow, and so hidden, I was working deep inside you, in places no one else could see. You thought nothing was happening because there was no applause, no big changes, and no clear signs of progress. But my work in you wasn't meant to be on display, not yet. Some prep work has to happen in secret so that when the time comes, nobody can take it away from you. I was shaping you in ways words can't describe, building up parts of your character that would eventually need to carry a heavy load without snapping. The pain you went through wasn't for nothing. Every ache, every disappointment, and every unanswered question served a purpose much bigger than you could see at the time. Pain taught you how to discern what matters and how to have compassion. It taught you how to listen instead of rushing, how to feel deeply without turning bitter, and how to keep going without losing yourself. Is greater than, is greater than, music is greater than, is greater than. I didn't cause your pain, but I definitely used it. I turned what could have destroyed you into something that refined you. You learned how to survive the storms without letting your faith wash away, even when you were completely drained. There were seasons when you felt totally isolated, like no one else truly got it or could walk through that fire with you. You wondered why people drifted away, why support fell through, or why conversations felt so empty when you were craving something real. That isolation wasn't me leaving you, it was me protecting you. There were parts of your journey that needed silence, so you could finally hear me clearly. There were lessons you couldn't learn while you were surrounded by too many other voices. I cleared away the distractions so you could grow deep roots, not just pretty branches. The waiting became your classroom. In that waiting, you learned patience when you just wanted to speed things up. You learned trust when you just wanted to take control. You learned how to sit with the unknown instead of running away from me. Waiting stripped away your need for things to go a certain way and built up your need for my presence. It taught you how to stay steady even when you didn't get quick answers. That kind of strength isn't built in comfort. It's built in the stillness and in surrender. Rejection wasn't a sign that you weren't wanted. It was a sign that certain doors weren't meant to shape your future. Every time you were overlooked, every time you were misunderstood or pushed aside, I was steering you away from places, music, that couldn't handle who you were becoming. Some environments were just too small for your growth. Some relationships weren't built to survive your transformation. I allowed that distance so you wouldn't shrink yourself just to fit in where you didn't belong anymore. You wondered why others couldn't walk that path with you. It hurt to feel so alone. It hurt to feel music like nobody saw you. But not everyone is meant for every chapter of your life. Some people are meant to start the journey with you, but not finish it. Others are just there to cheer you on for a bit before moving on. This wasn't a rejection of you, it was an alignment for you. I was protecting both you and them from carrying burdens they weren't supposed to bear. I was teaching you how to stand tall without leaning so hard on what other people think. I was showing you how to hear my voice clearly without needing someone else's approval. Music, I was building a quiet confidence in you, the kind that doesn't need anyone to validate it to stay steady. You learned how to be faithful even when nobody was watching, how to stay kind even when you were misunderstood, and how to stay humble while you were growing stronger. Every single bit of it was on purpose. Nothing was wasted. Those nights you cried alone, they were building your compassion. The days you felt invisible sharpened your awareness. The seasons you felt hidden built your character. I was getting you ready for moments where you'd need clarity instead of confusion, courage instead of fear, and faith instead of just acting on impulse. What I'm bringing you into now requires real depth, and depth takes time to grow. You might not have realized it then, but you were becoming someone who could carry peace in the middle of chaos, wisdom under pressure, and love in the face of difficulty. You were learning restraint, discernment, and patience. Those things don't just happen overnight. They're built through choosing to trust me over and over again, even when things didn't make sense. You chose to stay soft when it would have been easier to get hard. You chose to keep believing when you were tempted to just give up. I know there were times you felt forgotten, times you wondered if your obedience even mattered, and times you questioned if your faithfulness was being seen. I want you to hear this loud and clear. I saw everything. I measured every sacrifice. I recorded every single tear. Preparation isn't always loud or flashy. More often than not, it's quiet and unseen, but it is incredibly powerful. What is built in secret can't be easily shaken in public. That's right, Lord. Breathe new life into me if you're longing for His renewal. That isolation refined your focus. The waiting strengthened your endurance. The rejection clarified your direction. All of it was working together to prepare you for what you're stepping into right now. You are stronger than you were, wiser than you were, more grounded than you were, and most importantly, closer to me than you've ever been. That connection is what will keep you going in what comes next. I didn't delay your growth. I was protecting it. I didn't move you out of the spotlight without a reason. I was anchoring you. You were learning how to be faithful without getting a reward, how to serve without getting credit, and how to trust without having all the evidence. Those lessons build a foundation that won't crack when the pressure hits. And now you can see more clearly why the path was so narrow, why the seasons were so quiet, and why it felt like progress was moving at a snail's pace. I was preparing you for something that needs stability, humility, and trust. I was shaping you not just for what you want, but for what you can finally handle. You aren't behind. Is greater than. Music is greater than. You were being prepared. You weren't overlooked. You were being refined. And now, as you take this step forward, you'll realize that what felt like a delay was actually me working patiently, carefully, and intentionally in your life. While you were looking around, wondering why your life felt so hidden, quiet, and unseen, I was preparing you in ways that couldn't be rushed and definitely couldn't be explained at the time. You measured your progress by what you could see: the outward changes, the movement, the signs others would notice. But I was working beneath the surface, where the roots grow, where strength is built, and where character is shaped away from all the applause. What I was building in you needed privacy. If it had been exposed too soon, it would have been ruined by the pressure, the opinions, and the expectations you weren't meant to carry. The pain you endured wasn't random. I know exactly how deeply it cut. I know how it made you question yourself, your worth, and sometimes even if I was anywhere near you. Pain became a part of your training because it taught you how to lean into me, instead of just relying on what you could understand. It stripped away all the illusions and forced you to see what really matters. Through that pain, you learned empathy, you learned patience, you learned how to stay gentle, even when life wasn't being gentle to you. That kind of strength can't be taught when things are easy. Isolation was just another place of preparation. There were seasons when you felt totally alone, even in a crowded room. Conversations felt shallow, everything felt distant. You wondered why you couldn't get people to understand what you were going through, or why they couldn't walk that deep path with you. I allowed that isolation so your focus wouldn't be split. Music. I needed you to hear my voice clearly, without all the noise getting in the way. I needed you to learn how to just sit with me, how to really listen, and how to trust that I was right there, even when things felt quiet. That waiting wasn't a waste of time. Waiting was training for your spirit. It taught you restraint, how to hit the pause button instead of rushing ahead of me. You learned how to trust, even when you couldn't see the results yet. Waiting taught you how to let go of control, how to stay calm when things were uncertain, and how to keep the faith when the answers felt like they were taking forever. You thought waiting meant you were stuck, but it was actually building a kind of strength that movement never could. Music. It taught you how to stay steady instead of just reacting to everything. Rejection was one of the toughest lessons, and I know how much that hurt. Being overlooked, misunderstood, or pushed to the side probably made you doubt your value. But rejection was never about what you're worth. It was about the direction you were heading. Every time you weren't chosen, every time a door slammed shut when you didn't expect it, I was steering you away from places that couldn't support the person you were becoming. Some environments just weren't big enough for your growth. Some relationships would have forced you to make yourself smaller just to fit in. I moved you out of those spaces not to lose you, but to protect you. I know you wondered why other people couldn't walk with you through those seasons. The truth is, not everyone is meant to be part of every single chapter of your journey. Some people are only there to cheer you on for a little while. Others are there to push you, and some are meant to step away once the path gets narrow. I didn't remove them because they were bad, but because their role in your life was finished. There were lessons I had to teach you that you could only learn by not relying on others for reassurance. I was teaching you how to be independent without feeling lonely, how to be strong without being cold, and how to have confidence without being prideful. I was showing you how to stand tall without needing someone else to validate you. I was teaching you to trust my voice, even when nobody around you was saying the same thing. You were learning discernment. You were learning when to speak up and when to keep quiet. You were learning how to move with wisdom instead of just acting on impulse. Everything was intentional. Those quiet seasons were on purpose. The slow progress, intentional. The times you felt like nobody noticed you, intentional. I was prepping you for something that demands real depth, humility, and stability. Where I'm taking you, you can't be someone who still needs constant approval to feel secure or needs total comfort to feel confident. I was shaping you into someone who can carry big responsibilities without losing your peace, and someone who can handle pressure without turning bitter. You might not have realized it then, but you were getting stronger on the inside. You were learning how to manage your emotions, how to choose your response instead of just reacting, and how to stay grounded when everything around you shifted. These aren't the kind of lessons people brag about, but they are absolutely essential. They are the foundation for what's coming next. Without them, the things you're asking for would have overwhelmed you instead of blessing you. I saw those nights where you wondered if this hidden life even mattered. I saw you questioning if your faithfulness was going unnoticed. I saw you fighting through doubt and disappointment, and yet you chose to keep going. Every quiet act of obedience mattered. Every time you chose to be kind when you were hurting, it mattered. Every time you picked patience over bitterness, it mattered. Nothing was lost. Nothing was ignored. I was building endurance in you. Endurance is what keeps you moving when the excitement wears off. Endurance keeps you steady when your feelings are all over the place. It carries you through those seasons where your motivation just isn't enough. That endurance is going to be your greatest asset where I'm leading you. You're going to need it to stay consistent, to keep the faith, and to keep trusting me when new challenges show up. The prep work you went through wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to anchor you. It was designed to pull you closer to me, so your confidence would be rooted in who I am, not in your circumstances. You learned how to pray for real, how to be okay with the silence, and how to trust my character even when the answers didn't come when you wanted them to. Now, you can look back and see that the isolation sharpened your focus, the waiting built your faith, the rejection made your path clearer, and the pain actually softened your heart instead of hardening it. None of that was an accident. They were all steps. They were layers of preparation turning you into someone who can handle what I'm about to place in your hands. You weren't falling behind. You were being trained. You weren't forgotten. You were being prepared. And now, as you step forward, you'll see that those hidden seasons weren't empty at all. They were full of purpose, full of growth, and full of my presence working quietly, faithfully, and intentionally inside of you. This message is reaching you right now because the way you count time isn't the same way I govern it. You look at days and weeks. I look at readiness, alignment, and protection. You often think something is late when, in reality, it's just being guarded. You believe it should have happened sooner because your desire was deep, your need was real, and the pain was heavy. But desire alone doesn't set the schedule. Need alone doesn't open the door. I release music things when they can actually bless you instead of burdening you, when they can build you up instead of tearing you down, and when they can stay music in your life instead of slipping through your fingers. This message couldn't have reached you earlier, no matter how badly you wanted it to. There were parts of you still healing, even if you didn't see it. There were music expectations that would have twisted what I wanted to tell you. There were fears that would have turned my words into pressure instead of peace. If I had spoken this clearly before, music, you would have tried to force the outcome instead of listening to the instruction. You would have relied on excitement instead of wisdom. You would have moved music from a place of emotion instead of understanding. Back then you were listening music, but you weren't really hearing. You were there, but you weren't settled. Music. You were looking for answers more than you were ready for the truth. There's a big difference. Music, answers just satisfy your curiosity. Truth is what actually changes your heart. I don't speak just to give you information. I speak to change you, to align you, and to steady you. Before now, your heart was just too restless. You wanted a quick fix more than you wanted direction. You wanted to escape the situation more than you wanted to grow. I waited because love waits when rushing would only do harm. If you'd gotten this message too soon, it would have just confused you. You wouldn't have understood the weight of it. You would have felt overwhelmed instead of empowered. You might have even doubted yourself instead of trusting me. You were still measuring your life against what others were doing, still comparing your pace, and still questioning your worth whenever things didn't move fast enough. That mindset would have turned this message into a burden rather than a promise. I was also protecting what I'd planted inside you. Words spoken at the wrong time can be stolen, misused, or misunderstood. I waited until your roots were deep, until your faith was quieter but stronger, and until you didn't need constant signs just to know I was with you. I waited until you learned how to sit with the unknown without running for the exit. I waited until disappointment stopped calling the shots in your life. That's when you were ready. This message is arriving now because everything is finally aligned, not just around you, but inside of you. Your perspective has shifted. Your reactions are softer. Your prayers have matured. You've started asking different kinds of questions. Instead of just asking when, you've started asking why. Instead of just asking for things to change, you've started asking for the wisdom to understand. That shift is everything. Music. Music, it's a sign of real growth. It showed me you're not just blindly chasing results anymore. You're finally ready to take care of what I'm about to give you. If I'd said this earlier, you would have tried to force things that needed to happen in their own time. You would have been knocking on doors I'd already closed to keep you safe. You would have held on to relationships that were meant to end. You would have fought against change because your fear was still louder than your trust. I waited until your trust was stronger than your fear. I waited until doing what I asked didn't feel like losing something. I waited until you could hear me without your anxiety twisting my words. And now, you're ready to receive without rushing. You're ready to listen without jumping in. You're ready to move without panicking. That's why music this moment is so important. You're not asking me to prove myself anymore. You're learning to trust who I am. You aren't demanding quick answers anymore. You're willing to walk with me, one step at a time. That kind of readiness can't be rushed. It has to grow. This message also comes now because what's coming next requires total clarity. Confusion would have held you back in the next season. Unresolved fear would have weakened you. Emotional instability would have just been a distraction. I waited until your spirit could handle the instructions without getting overwhelmed. I waited until your heart was open enough to hold the truth without fighting it. I waited until you could accept confirmation without doubting whether you'd earned it. I know it feels like this message is late because the wait was so long. But from where I'm standing, the timing is perfect. It arrived exactly when hearing it would make you stronger instead of rattling you. Music. It arrived when your heart was ready to stay open instead of putting up walls. It arrived when your mind was ready to receive it without arguing. That isn't delay. That's care. You're ready now in ways you never were before. Ready doesn't mean perfect. It just means willing. It means being grounded. It means being humble enough to listen and strong enough to follow through. Stop chasing after signs. You're finally learning to recognize my voice. The desperation for change is fading, and you're truly opening up to be transformed. Is greater than, music is greater than. That shift changes everything. This message isn't here to give you a temporary high. It's here to align your life for good. Is greater than music. Is greater than I'm not here to rush you blindly into the next thing. I'm here to steady you as you move. I'm speaking now because you're finally strong enough to hold on to what I'm telling you without letting go. You can carry this without fear and put it into practice without forcing a thing. You aren't the same person you were when you first prayed for this. You've grown wiser. You're steadier. You're more aware. You've learned the value of patience, discernment, and restraint. These qualities are what prepare you for what's coming next. Without them, your own desires would have overwhelmed you, but now they'll only make you stronger. That's why I waited. That's why this message didn't come sooner, and that is exactly why it's here right now. You're finally ready to hear it. You're ready to receive it. You're ready to move forward with real clarity instead of confusion, with peace instead of panic, and with deep trust instead of fear. Is greater than music. This moment isn't an accident. It's intentional. And I'm speaking now because you're finally prepared to listen the way this moment demands. Say, Father, you are my unshakable hope. If you are standing on his promises, share this video.